All right, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I was delayed. We have had a very big day with lots of different things going on, but I really wanted, and I'm so glad that AFGE is here and that one of our amazing activists, Eliseo, is here. He's going to tell his story, and that Alex Lawson, who I think almost single-handedly, even though none of us can do everything, and all of us can do something, none of us can do everything. Alex Lawson may be the only person I know who actually contradicts that, because I do think he does everything. And he does so much in terms of Social Security and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And what we really wanted to do is, as we get to this amazing, this important anniversary of Social Security, August 14th marks the 90th anniversary of Social Security. Sorry, I keep on taking my glasses off, putting my glasses on. Everybody on this Zoom understands that, should I read my notes? Should I look at you? But we know Thursday, August 14th, marks the 90th anniversary of Social Security. We just had the 60th anniversary just yesterday of the Voting Rights Act. Notice how this administration wants to erase history. This administration doesn't care about the equality of everyone, opportunity for everyone. But yet, the people of America, one of the things that they still care about, regardless of whether they voted for Donald Trump or whether they voted for Kamala Harris or whether they didn't vote, they understand, people in America, the importance of Social Security, not only as a concept, but as a sacrosanct benefit, as a benefit that is there, that's earned, that every time any of us work, or many of us work, we pay a certain percentage of our income, and our employers pay a certain percentage to make sure Social Security is there for us, all of us, in retirement. And for those who it hasn't been there for, we have fought to make sure they get it. That's why the battle for Social Security fairness, the battle to erase GPO and WEP was so important this year. We know, we believe, we fight for, as a labor union, every single worker and working family in America to be able to count on a secure retirement so that they can live with dignity and with grace after a lifetime of hard work. Now, we do it as school teachers and nurses and paraprofessionals. I saw a paraprofessional say, I'm a retired para, yay. We do it. We fight for a defined benefit plan too. We fight for making sure that if people have defined contribution plans like 401ks or 403bs, that they, hi Roger, I'm so glad you're here too, that they are there for people, and there for people when they need it. We fight to make sure the assets are in our retiree systems. We fight to make sure that they don't cut our retirements. We fight to make sure that we have, if we can, a COLA for Social Security or for retirements. We fight, just like today, we're going to fight the Trump administration on what they're doing to try to let private equity control 401ks and do what they normally do, which is overpromise and underdeliver and take lots and lots and lots of fees. But for us right now, for today, for these 2 weeks leading up to, I guess it's a week, not 2 weeks, leading up to August 14th, leading up to things that we're doing that Saturday, things that we're doing on that day, we have to fight the Social Security, thank you, Calvin, Social Security Day of Actions. We have to fight for two things. Number one, that this administration, by whatever means it says, by whatever bullshit, excuse my language, excuse it uses, whether it says, we're just trying to deal with efficiency, effectiveness, fraud, all that. They want to kill Social Security. Trump has said to them, do not do that. Their people believe in Social Security. But think about what Scott Bessent just said last week. Think about how he said, well, these Trump accounts, they're going to actually obviate the need for Social Security. How dare you say that? How dare as a millionaire or a billionaire you say that? Oh, and look what Musk said before he was stopped. Look what he did and used Doge for, to take people's private information, to pretend to dead people who are on Social Security, to close offices so that people couldn't have benefit hearings. These people do not want Social Security. They're not going to tell people that they don't want it, although some of them do, but they do not want it. And we have to fight in every which way we can, particularly those of us who are not yet on Social Security, for the benefits for people to have it and to keep it, and for our children and our grandchildren to have it and to keep it. And that is why we are doing these Social Security days of action. That is why I am asking you, make your voice heard. Sign up for an event on August 14th to fight back against the threats to Social Security. Go to the links we provide in the chat. Sign up for some of these events are going to be on a Saturday. Some of them are going to be on August 14th. We need to make our voices heard, that this is not an area that the Trump administration should touch. And let me just end before I introduce Jessica, and by saying this. Last week at our Teach conference, literally an hour, literally 15 minutes, maybe it was 10 minutes before I was about to give my speech, Dennis Cox is saying he can't see the links in the chat. So let's make sure we have the links in the chat. He literally, there was $7 to $8 billion that was supposed to go out to schools, public schools, for after school programs, for summer school programs, for English language learner programs. It was supposed to go out on July 1st. On June 30th, Linda McMahon said, oh no, we're not putting it out. We are worried that these programs have some woke aspects, meaning that they had some civil rights aspects to them that were done under the law, the civil rights laws. And they said, oh no, we're not putting this money out. Money for after school, money for summer school. Some summer school programs were ended. Money for teacher training, money for migrant students, things that school districts really, really rely on and plan on, and we're planning on, because of the work that the attorney generals did, because of the work our members did, because of the work NEA members did, because of communities in red areas and blue areas and purple areas. Literally, there was so much pressure on them, they had to relent, because real people, real kids would have seen the effects of this starting with back to school. This is what we have to do here. Real people have to be out there showing the effects. How dare you, as billionaires, how dare you take $3,000, $4,000 away from somebody who's worked hard their whole lives and are relying on that? We, as a labor movement, have to be out there for every single person who gets Social Security now, who relied on it beforehand, and who will need it in the future. And with that, let me introduce Jessica. Jessica LaPointe, I think I said your name right, Jessica? Who is a member of AFGE, and she's the president of AFGE Council 220, and she's going to tell us what these changes have meant to her and her fellow federal workers. And we are with you every step of the way, Jessica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Randi Weingarten is actually like a personal hero of mine, so I'm pinching myself right now. But labor leaders and civil rights leaders have always been my heroes. So it's great to be amongst you all today. Thank you for having me on. As the union president of Security field workers, I am here to tell you that Social Security workers have a story to tell right now. And we are demanding that our voices be heard. And we're getting out on August 14th, the 90th anniversary of signing Social Security into law, to tell our story because it's compelling, and we're making a case for the American people and for you all to stand with us to support this program so it stays strong for another 90 years and into the future for the generations, not only this one, but the future generations who are stakeholders in ensuring that Social Security remains viable. And we're worried right now as workers, and with the rapid pace that it's being dismantled from within, that we're not even going to make it to midterms, which is why we need to be out there loud right now. And we need to address the reality, and we need to demand that the commissioner define reality for the people, because he is hiding information. He's cherry picking staff. He's bragging about improvements. He's yet to meet with labor. He has missed 5 meetings now that we have set up. Either we've been stood up or he's canceled at the last minute. No interest in meeting with labor, and that's a problem because the changes that he's making and the rapid pace in which he's making them is detrimental for public service. And as Social Security workers, we are so dedicated to this mission that we're taking a 30% pay cut, right? To make sure Social Security is being carried out and remains in the public trust. Our rights and benefits are being stripped away almost daily. Something new comes down the chute daily, and we have to deal with it. And we often feel like we're alone out there in the labor movement. So I really appreciate being on, because we have showed up for the American people throughout the duration of our career to administer their Social Security benefits at 1%, less than 1% of benefit payouts. And so we need you all to stand with us as we're witnessing the dismantling from within. So let me just take a few moments to talk about what I mean by that. So President Weingarten mentioned that, as teachers and paraprofessionals, you deal with understaffing and large classroom sizes, and you know how that feels. Well, that is what we're dealing with at the Social Security Administration. We are so understaffed right now that the agency will do anything to not admit that we're understaffed, but drive more people out the door. They're going to centralize operations where people out in California are now serving people in Wisconsin. You can't get a hold of a caseworker. There's just too few of us to go around. And we've seen their budget for FY26. They want to contract out our jobs. They want to, it's very attractive, right? We got $2.7 trillion of your money held in the trust funds for benefit payouts, right? So you talked about the backdoor of privatization with the Trump accounts. I don't know what they want to do with it, but they want to make a buck off the trust funds. They want to make a buck off the administrative costs as well. They want to contract out our work. They want to contract out federal jobs to private industry. And instead of less than 1% of administrative costs, those will skyrocket to 20%. And you're not going to get the quality of service that you're going to get from a well-trained, vetted federal worker. So we're sounding the alarm on that. We're sounding the alarm on the understaffing and how he's robbing Peter to pay Paul every day to make his staff look good without admitting that he needs more workers. He's taking field office workers. Let's be clear on one thing about Social Security. Social Security is a federal program that are community-based institutions. They're community-based institutions at the local level. There are over 1,200 field offices around this country that serve communities. They are dismantling the staff within the community-based field offices. The commissioner wants to brag about his stats on the 1-800 number, getting call handle times down. So he's taken 2,000 field office staff and moved them over to the 1-800 number. So we can no longer serve communities on the staffing that we had. Moving into January, we were at a 50-year low in staffing. We lost 10% of our field office staff last year alone. And then the DOGE cuts with the buyouts and all the things you read about in the media, we lost another 10 to 15% of our staff as a result of that. Staff in local community-based field offices. We can't keep up. It is appointment-focused service. It takes months and months to get an appointment now. You can't call your local office and get a local caseworker. You're going to get the runaround. Everything is on fire and the workers are suffering. The commissioner is doing punitive measures to the workers based on the understaffing. He's ended our rights to flexible work schedules. He has involuntary reassigned us to other components without training. He has lifted up all of the measures that we have in place to ensure our performance standards. So anybody can go into a record and make a change and your performance is going to suffer as a result. It is a mess. He is doing a wholesale mess and chaos. He's carrying it out. It has been happening since January. It's continuing to happen under his leadership, and he's cherry picking stats and he's masking it. If you go to afgec220.org, you can join us for an event. You can see our fact checking him every step of the way. If you join us on social media, we fact check him every step of the way because this isn't his money. This isn't the billionaires' money. He works for the American people now. And the American people have to hold him accountable for their earned Social Security benefits. So that's what we're going to talk about on the 14th and in the near future, because the time is now, you guys. It's now or never for saving the Social Security Administration.
Thank you,
And
Jessica.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I could listen to you all night. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. It is really, really important that people hear you. And it's just really important that people hear you. And I really, really appreciate all the facts. And, you know, what we should be able to do, I hope, is we want to make sure that the facts that you just said, Calvin and others, let's just make sure that, because I know a lot of people are saying, we want to share this recording with everybody. There's almost 300 people on this tonight, but I know people want to share it with people. And so let's make sure we also have some of those facts, Jess, that you just said, written down in a way so people could hear it, that they could see that they're basically, you know, it's death by 1,000 cuts. So it's really important. And as I said, we are with you. We are with our brothers and sisters in AFGE. And in fact, I'm about to go to Netroots tomorrow, and I think Saturday I'm going to Netroots, and I'm going to see President Kelly in Netroots as well. So glad that we're going to be walking together there. Now, I want to talk for a minute before I introduce our next guest, because he was a very important way for us getting to this point. He is, you know, an amazing activist. He's the person I'm about to introduce is Eliseo Jiminez from Texas. But hello. I want to talk about 1 second, Eliseo, before I want to brag on you for a second. Because what he helped do is get us the Social Security Fairness Act, which was a huge victory that we got at the very, very tail end of the Biden administration. We worked hand in hand with police and firefighters. We forged a whole bunch of allies that we in New York had done years ago with police and firefighters. But, you know, with a lot of the culture wars, there's a lot of division and a lot of otherizing. We brought people together to get to the finish line and past the finish line. But what we did, and Eliseo, who you see right now, we won justice for almost 3 million American workers, American grandmothers and grandfathers who have dedicated their lives to serving the public, but had retirements throttled by penalties that were imposed during the Bush era. Teachers, school staffs, firefighters, police officers, and retirees who worked in other public sector jobs are now receiving their full earned Social Security benefits in retirement. And many of them didn't even know that their retirement benefits would have been cut but for this. They only found out in these 40 years that we've been living with WEP and GPO after they retired. Like if their husband died or they didn't have enough time in either the private or the public sector, or there were other kinds of rules. I'll give you one example. One of our higher education retiree members from Illinois, Mitch Vogel, and his wife, who's also an AFT member, they received, because of the win, a retroactive lump sum payment of $16,000. He saw his annual benefit increase by $6,000. And why? Because what happened was, for some reason that I do not understand, why was this a decades-long fight? Was because the right wing kept saying that retirees were double dipping, that if you worked in the public sector and the private sector for a period of your life, because you were getting a public sector pension for the period that you worked in the public sector, then you were no longer eligible for the private sector pension that you had paid for and that you were supposed to get. Or even worse, if your husband or wife died and they were the ones getting the pension, and you were working in the public sector and they were in the private sector, you, the bereaved spouse who was still living, you no longer got what your husband or wife got. I mean, and this was just, and was like the unfair penalization that this did to people who didn't even know. Like all of a sudden something would happen, somebody would die, and all of a sudden the benefits were cut off. So it took perseverance, but for some people, it took walking for a long way. And that's where Eliseo's story comes in. Now, my home local is UFT. I'm sure there's some UFT members on here. And this was not something that affected the UFT because we weren't one of the 26 states who had this problem, because we had fought for public sector employees, even who had public sector pensions, to get Social Security as well. And it was a big fight. There were times when people said, why do I have to pay the, X percent in every one of my paychecks to, and why do I have to do that? Why do I have to pay the 7.5%? Why do I have to do this work? And we said, because we need this as part of the three-legged stool. Social Security is an earned right, and you need to have it in retirement, not just your pension. But it took a lot to actually make this happen. And it took actually work that was done by, in a circuitous route to get it done, through a discharge petition that Republican and a Democrat did together. But it took more than that. It took, and Abigail Spanberger was the Democrat. There was a Republican from Louisiana who did it. Lots of people signed on. People in the right wing tried to kill it, but we got it done. And then we got it done in the Senate. And by the time it was voted on the Senate, almost 80 people voted for it. But one of the reasons, big, I know, build up for Eliseo, is this high school student from Lubbock, Texas. He'll share his story of how he helped get this reform for his grandmother. And think about what it means for this activist and why he did what he did. And with that, my dear friend Eliseo, take it away.
Thank you for the introduction. You really hyped me up there. Thank you so much, Randy. So I guess it really all starts.
All totally honest.
Thank you. But it really all starts because I was trying to get ready for my college applications and everything about last year. So I started this nonprofit which helped seniors and disabled individuals cut their yards. But the thing I noticed is I ran into a lot of retired police officers and retired teachers mostly, and maybe a few retired firefighters, and they they're well off, but I mean, if they had the chance at more money, I mean, they would jump on it, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't? But they told me that their benefits were kind of slashed, kind of cut a little bit by the web and GPO. And this is like my first time like ever hearing about the web and GPO, like when I was doing this. And this was back March last year, May last year. And so I thought about it. I really didn't dig into it until about the summer when I was talking with my grandma and she told me about it, how she was affected by it. I think her benefits were like cut exactly in half, 50% down the middle. So, I mean, it was a lot. And just to see my grandmother suffer for just that, and she was paying into a system she couldn't pull out. It was like very wrong to me. I mean, if you look at it, it's just really wrong. So I decided to walk from Lubbock, Texas to Washington, D.C. as support of the Social Security Fairness Act, which let me tell you, it was a long walk. I think it took me about 7 days to get out the state of Texas, uh, another 7 days to get out of the state of Oklahoma, halfway Mississippi River. That was, I think, my 20th or 21st day. And then I finally finished on the 40th day in DC. I always like to say this little joke, like 40 days, 40 nights, Jesus Christ. I always say that. But it was a really long walk, and um I'm really glad I did it. I would say I contributed a little bit, not a lot, because there's been people working at this for years and years and years, and it's really cool to see like how invested people are in the same thing that I am, and I'm so glad that it passed for my grandmother. She's so happy. I think she gets like she might get like 1,200, and then she got a retroactive lump sum as well. She didn't tell me how much, but she said it was a lot, and
So he is being really shy today. He is not normally this shy, but can you imagine? Just look at him and doing this for his grandmother. Look at that kind of courage of that kind of walk. I mean, we were on a panel together in Texas, and Roger Boudreau, who just reminded me, Roger is the head of our task force on this issue. And Roger, who's from Rhode Island, just reminded me. He said, "Make sure you tell people that we are trying to help people, and particularly help people who are in our union family." And so the National Task Force said, look, Eliseo's, he has a life ahead of him. He's going to have a lot of expenses. So the National Task Force provided a $4,000 scholarship for Eliseo, and the Texas AFT added 1,000 at the convention. How we stand for each other, how we stand shoulder to shoulder, how we fight for each other, how we each, as I said, all of us, and my wife, Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum, says this a lot. I thought it came from scriptures. I think it actually is something that she has comes from the Talmud at one point or another. But that no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And look at what Eliseo did to inspire all of us. So, my friend, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything.
thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. Are you gonna be out there on August 14th? Are you gonna be helping us protect Social Security?
Who, me? Are you talking
Yeah,
to?
yeah,
Oh, of
you.
course, I'm gonna be out there.
Good, fantastic.
I was trying to start something over here in my town because I mean, there's not a lot of really like Social Security people. I think I'm like the main. I wouldn't say the main activist in Lubbock, but I mean, I don't think there's no one else like really act act, you know, going towards Social Security. But I
Good,
was thinking about making like just a little get together, maybe like a
good,
Social Security cake and invite some SSA.
fantastic. I love that.
Just
That is great.
just a little get together to appreciate the whole system.
That is fantastic. So the last person that I want to introduce is the one that does do everything. Alex, I want your picture up here. I want you up here as I'm talking about you. Alex Larson. Uh, Sorry, I said Larson, not Lawson. I am tired today. I got up like at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning,
I'm
Central
tired too.
Time. I'm in where am I right now? I'm in Portland right now, Oregon. I'm taking an overnight back to New York tonight. So my apologies for calling you Larson as opposed to Lawson. But Alex is the executive director of Social Security Works and has been actually literally making sure that people know all across the country what risk we're at. And it is really serious because to have something that the majority of the country really wants and wants to keep, and to watch the amount of energy and action that is used to undermine it. Thank God for Alex. And I think Alex was very, very smart and prescient to basically say, we have to make this fight not just in Washington. Frankly, Washington is almost, we have to make this fight in congressional districts in the district. We have to make it during the August research recess. And what better time to do it than the reminder of when it was founded and its birthday and its import. So Alex, take it away.
Oh, what luck I have to be speaking with such a bunch of heroes. President Weingarten, it's amazing. You and all the teachers, health care workers, paraprofessionals, just always leading on Social Security. In the WEP GPO fight, it was really a powerful movement to be part of. I'll also say could be annoying too. Persistent, yes. Over the years, if you ever gave a speech anywhere in this country, you were going to hear about WEP GPO. I'll tell you that. And it was organized. And that's why we won, because teachers, everybody got out there and just kept raising their voices, our voices together, and fixed a deep wrong that was perpetrated on public employees. Actually started in Ronald Reagan's attack on public employees. And don't make no mistake, it had nothing to do with the numbers or math or making things better. It was to hurt public employees. It was to hurt teachers. That's why they did it. And I'll sort of try to tie all this together, but remember that that's the reason. It wasn't anything other than to attack public employees. And you carry that into President LaPointe, who is right now facing an assault that is catastrophic in nature. And it is offices closed, hours shortened, call times dragging on for 5 hours, and then the call dropped. So they shuffled people from the offices to the 800 numbers. You have 14% staff reductions in the offices in Montana, a rural state. This system is stretched to breaking point. And it's not an accident. Just like WEP GPO wasn't an accident. They do these things on purpose. And Eliseo, it's an honor to be on a call with somebody who we all know, if we work in Washington, D.C., and we work in policy, the thing that moves people is a story that they can connect to in a way like Eliseo provided us by walking for his grandmother from Lubbock to Washington, D.C. for justice. And it really let us tie a lot of the activism that had been happening for decades to a story, and really a beautiful symbol of the power that we all have to make change. So that's sort of my intro. And now I have to really dive into, it's going to be bad from this point to the end of, I'll try to end on a high note of saying we're going to get together and fight back on the 14th, on the 16th. But I want people to understand how bad things are. So Social Security works, public education works, Medicare works, Medicaid works. That's why the billionaires attack these systems. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. The billionaires hate systems that work, that don't include Wall Street, right? Wall Street doesn't give any money to Social Security. It's our money. We paid into the system. It's for us. When we retire, if we become ill or injured, disabled, and can no longer work, for the surviving minor children in the death of a breadwinner, it's a lifelong insurance program that the people provide for ourselves. And Wall Street hates it because of that. Washington, D.C., the Republicans who dance to the tune the billionaires call, they in D.C. hate Social Security because they can't make any money off of it either, in the same way that the billionaires on Wall Street can't, when they transition out of their jobs. But really, they're just doing the bidding of the billionaires. And I think we were a little overconfident, I was, because for 90 years, through boom and bust, through war and peace, through health and pandemic, Social Security has never missed a single payment. And that's because there's a bunch of walls that Francis Perkins and FDR built around Social Security, did not allow Wall Street in, did not allow DC in. It's a self-funded program. And that gave me a lot of belief that they couldn't get their greedy little hands on that $2.3 trillion that Jessica mentioned. And I think I didn't see the play that the billionaires perpetrated. And, now it's really clear now, but they put the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, the billionaire, richest man in the world. He held a chainsaw on stage and said he was going to drive that through the government. And he did drive that through the heart of the Social Security Administration, firing, pushing out 7,000 to 10,000 workers of an already critically understaffed agency. And let me be clear, this is not over. The only reason that there hasn't been catastrophic delays of checks, and there have been tons of delays, tons of disruptions, but the only reason the system hasn't literally collapsed on itself is because of Jessica and the other AFGE workers in Social Security, sometimes doing the job of 20 people just to make sure that people get what they've earned, because they know that this is a matter of life and death for millions of Americans. It's a matter of being able to pay the rent or pay for their medication. It is a matter of paying for the skilled nursing facility that they might need. Life and death. And the public employees, the dedicated Social Security employees, are the only reason there hasn't already been a catastrophe. But all of our experts are telling us it can't go on like this for long. That is not overstating it, especially because they cut through not just the frontline workers, they did, not just appeals and back of the house workers, they did, but critically also IT and the actual structure that gets the checks into people's hands like clockwork, again, for 90 years until today. Now we've seen missed payments, disruptions, delays, and all of the experts are telling us these are blinking red warning lights that the system is actually approaching a point when millions of Americans are not going to get their checks in the mail. That is the future unless we can reverse what has happened. And then people that we talk to, the experts, they say, if something like that starts, it's not going to be a simple fix. It's a cascading problem. So you're not talking about one missed check. You're talking about months and months of no checks. And there's been research done that a huge percentage of Social Security recipients can't weather 1 month missing one check, right? And so if it's more than that, we're talking about a catastrophic situation that's approaching. And the reason I'm really trying to do this, it's hard for people to hear because Social Security has been so secure and regular and it works. It's hard to believe the danger that it's in right now, but it is. I've worked on this issue for 15 years, never seen anything like this. The president of Social Security works, Nancy Altman. She's worked on this for 50 years. She says she's never seen anything like this. And if anything, I'm underdoing it when I'm telling people about the danger the system is in right now. And there is no plan to make it better. Bisignano and the Trump administration are making it worse. So even if we tried to turn it right now, it would be very difficult to get back to green light. But they're not trying to fix it. And why? Now I'll try to land it. It's not a mistake. Like Randi said, this is what they're going for. They're not trying to do something to make it better and then are like, oops, I accidentally broke it. They're wrecking it so they can rob it. Like Jessica said, this is the old canard of the right wing. They kneecap the mailman. It's not a canard. This is the old tactic of the right wing. They kneecap the mailman, then complain that the mail is late, and then they just happen to remember that they got a cousin in the private parcel delivery business. That's what they want to do with Social Security. They want to privatize it. That's why Treasury Secretary Bessent said it aloud. He said, we want backdoor privatization. This is the same guy, I believe, who said that if his mother-in-law didn't receive a check one month, she wouldn't complain about it because only the fraudsters complain about it. That's what Elon Musk said as well. That's them softening people up to make it seem like it's the people's fault. It's our fault if we don't get a check and complain. That's baloney. We've earned our money. We're going to get every cent that we're owed, but we might face disruptions, and we have to, as a community, protect ourselves, our neighbors, our community members, especially the most vulnerable among us, the oldest of the old, those with disabilities in skilled nursing facilities, who cannot face the loss of a single check. So that's why Jessica's leading on the birthday, across the country, dozens of events across the country, and we're helping in any way that we can. And on the 16th, we'll have dozens more events across the country saying, protect our checks. We have to protect our checks. Nobody's given us anything. We've earned them. And we'll be damned if we're going to let some politician in DC steal them. So you can check it out at protectourchecks.org. But I do want it to be hopeful, but I actually think that the situation is so dire that I do want to leave people on that down sort of note that this isn't even the only fight that we have. They just cut $1 trillion from Medicaid as well. All of these together are aimed at making the working people kneel to the billionaires. And it's gonna be bad. And it doesn't happen in the future, it's happening right now. The only thing that is good from it is through adversity, solidarity grows. And we know that when people stand together, when we raise our voices together and we stand up and say no, and you take your cues in bravery from Eliseo, who walked from Lubbock, Texas to Washington, D.C. for his grandmother. When we have millions of people with the courage that Eliseo brings to the fight, there's no way the billionaires can stand before us. But it is going to be a struggle, and we're all going to have to stand shoulder to shoulder to fight this fight, which is going to be so hard and that we must win.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I think that we have to. I just answered the 5 questions in the Q&A. I hope, Erica, I answered them, and Sarah, I answered them right. But I thought we should answer questions that people are asking. And I think that there's 2 points that were in the questions that I want to lift up as I answer. But I want you to help me with this, Alex, which is this. Number 1, no one wants fraud. No one wants abuse. Abuse and fraud actually hurt us. It hurts regular folks. And so if there's someone who shouldn't be on Social Security is on Social Security, they shouldn't be on it. And we all should be ones who are not protecting fraud, but who are exposing fraud. fraud and corruption and things like that. And this notion that everybody does it, that's, I don't, frankly, I represent teachers and paraprofessionals and nurses. No, everybody doesn't do it. I mean, many of us try to live an honest and transparent life. So so let me just be clear for those people who say, oh no, we have to deal with it. Just like we say, if somebody has committed a crime, they should be held accountable, whether they're an undocumented person or whether they've been in the United States for, since the Mayflower. But the issue, this is not about fraud. This is not about trying to be more efficient. This is actually making it impossible for a system that actually has worked for years to work. So if somebody doesn't get it's Howard Lutnick's mother, if she doesn't get her check, Howard Lutnick can make sure she's okay that week, that month. And Scott Bessent's, family probably never needs Social Security. But that's not where millions of Americans are, living paycheck to paycheck or Social Security check to Social Security check. So the issue here is we want to make sure it's right. You heard Jessica. The federal employees that work with Social Security, they want to make sure it's right. We want to make sure it's efficient. We want to make sure that people who should be getting it are getting it. People who shouldn't be getting it don't get it. And we fought really hard to broaden who should get it. That was the fight about WEP GPO. So I wanted to say that I want to make sure that I was right about all of that, Alex. Am I right about all of that?
Yes, including that you got me. I forgot which billionaire was being terrible. It was Lutnick who said his
it was Lutnick.
mother, Lutnick and Elon who said, only fraudsters will miss. The truth is, and this is, the right wing is good at their attacks. So they want us to be sort of talking about this. We should be holding up the Social Security system as the crown jewel in terms of preventing fraud and in terms of being efficient. It's actually too low, as Jessica will say, tell you, but still, 99 cents of every dollar paid into Social Security comes back to us in the form of benefits. 1 penny of every dollar goes to administer the entire thing. Now, do me a favor and try to find anything on Wall Street that is that efficient. There's nothing. And this is to provide an inflation-protected annuity plus $1 million in life and long-term disability insurance to everyone in this country, a universal program, less than 1 penny. Are you kidding me? It's the picture of efficiency. And all of the cuts that they've done have been to make it more inefficient. You can't say you're for efficiency if the actions you're taking make the system less efficient. And then you go to fraud. Are you kidding me? Of course, prosecute every fraudster who's trying to defraud the American people through Social Security.
Exactly right.
Which is what the system does and did and was really good at. We had Inspector General whose whole job was to make sure that the people who got benefits were supposed to get benefits. And again,
didn't they get rid of the Inspector
Generals? It was like the first thing they did.
Wasn't that a coup against the Inspector Generals? Right?
They fired them all, which is not something that you do if you're interested in getting rid of fraud. It's something you do if you want to perpetrate fraud.
Exactly
right? They got rid of the referees.
Exactly right.
What they're doing is they're actually attacking the system at its strongest point and pretending that it's weak and rife with fraud. Right. And remember how big it was. President Trump went before Congress and spent like 10 minutes lying about just this because they want people to believe that the system is not working, is not functioning when it does.
And didn't we find out when he said that somebody who was 305 years old or something like that and it was all a lie. It was all a lie. Because so the second big question that, and somebody just asked on the questions whether, I know Doge does have access to our data. but they have not set up their payment system yet, correct?
No, it's
They have
still
not. No,
it's
that's so I
still
just
on
wanted to make
COBOL.
sure.
And for
I just want,
if it's a
yeah,
nerdy question, the system is called COBOL, and that's what the tech folks are extremely scared that the Doge tech guys are going to get down to, try to cut into that, replace it with AI. That's what they keep saying they're going to
yeah,
do, and
exactly right.
that will be the disaster.
That will be the disaster. So there's several people who asked, look, we rely on the fact, Republicans and Democrats and independents alike, that this will work through thick and thin. We all rely on it. We all have a sense, a hope that it will. And I think that what happens is a lot of people, I want you to put on, for those of you who are teachers, put your teacher hat back on. Think about, for those of you who are teachers or paras, think about being in front of a classroom and you are talking to your, kids. Think about it as your family. You're talking to your family. You're trying to get them to realize something or think about something. Think about a story about how important something is. And think about, is that something worth fighting for? So somebody who's skeptical or saying, oh, it's never going to go away. Let's make sure it doesn't. Let's do something to make sure it doesn't. Put that teacher hat on, put that parent hat on, put that grandparent hat on, then about the importance to you, the importance to your family, the importance to your friends, the importance to the people you play bridge with, the importance to the people you've worked with, the importance to the people you go to synagogue or church or mosque with. And that is part of what we have to do, my friends. Talk about what Alex just said, what Jessica said, what Eliseo said. Talk about its importance to us as a society and how we have to fight for it. And those conversations that you're having with your friends, those are as important as anything, or your family, as anything that we're saying. Talk to your kids, even people who might have voted for Donald Trump, particularly people who voted for Donald Trump, and say, look, I don't want you to have to take care of me. I want Social Security to take care of me. And so that's part of why we're having these days of action, because it creates an opportunity for people to talk to each other and then show up either on the 14th, which is the Labor Coalition Day of Action led by AFGE and the Alliance for Retired Americans, or on the 16th, which is the Social Security Works Day of Action led by Social Security's Work and the Hub. And the reason we're doing different days is because for some people, it's important to be out there on Saturday because Saturday is the day they can be out there. They're working on a Thursday. They can't be out there on a Thursday. But we're doing both of these days. We're joining together to really have a presence and to make our voices heard. And the way you make your voices heard is got to stand up and stand up together. So I'm asking all of you, we see it, we feel it, we know it, we have an obligation to speak. And yes, I will continue to speak in every which way I can, and so will Alex. But we're just actually one voice. When there's a cacophony of voices, when there's a lot of voices, when there are a lot of people out there, it's hard to deny. It's hard to look away. That's what happened on No Kings. That's why I think for several months as a result, it stopped President Trump from doing more things to undermine our democracy. He started again. They have to do more. But think about the story I just told you about what just happened in terms of school aid. We have to be out there. We need to be out there on the 14th or the 16th. This is what we must do to fight for the dignity of our retirement, to fight for the dignity of people, to fight to make sure that what people have done for so long, working people slaving away, working hard throughout their lives, we want to make sure that Social Security is there for them in the way in which they need it, getting checks on time, today, tomorrow, next year, 5 years and 10 years from now. So sign up. Love the idea that Eliseo had about having a cake, having a party, create your own event, but please engage in this fight with us. We have to save Social Security, not only for ourselves, but for every American. People deserve it. They have a right to it. We in the labor movement have to stand in the breach. Thanks, everybody.